Hey guys, sorry I've been very inactive lately. Other than the bitch ass reason like motivation, I actually had oral surgery recently, and don't get it twisted with anal surgery, okay? It's not that big a deal. It's two completely different things, and I'm actually recording right now a day after, and I still have these things in my mouth, so every now and then if I slip up a word, there you go. But yeah, I'm pretty much gonna upload whenever I feel like, so I just don't push myself to uploading, so it's still fun every now and then. Anyway, let's get into the video. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Fallout related video, and for today's video, I'll be for the first time ever comparing two Fallout games, and that'll be Fallout 4 and New Vegas. Now, I have compared Fallout to BioShock, but not a Fallout game on another Fallout game, and I'm really excited to make this video, so I'm going to try to compare as much stuff as I can between the two games, and make sure you know where I stand with certain things, because I know videos like these, some people could be very one-sided towards one game or just totally biased, but I'm going to do my best to not do that. So without making anyone wait any longer, let's get into it. Starting off with something basic, we got the story, and something I want to say right off the bat, in this specific video, the story doesn't have a big impact on me. Now, before anyone gets mad, the reason the story isn't as important to me in this video is because I personally find myself not picky about stories in video games. Like, I rarely find myself complaining about the story in a game, but it is still definitely important, so I will break some things down. And I'd like to start off with Fallout 4's story because people have very mixed opinions on it, and just to throw my, opinion out there, I don't mind the story. I really don't make a fuss about the voice protagonist, even though I think it's better without one. But the one thing about Fallout 4's storyline is that it somewhat bothered me towards the end of it. It just started to feel kind of ridiculous. For me personally, I think joining the Institute is a small reason I think this. Like, let me recap the story about your family real quick and briefly for Fallout 4. By the way, very obvious spoilers ahead. Alright. So a bomb goes off, and you gotta chill with your wife in a frozen chamber in a vault. Then someone murders her and takes your baby. Sounds pretty normal enough, right? But fast forward all the faction stuff and just in the future, your infant baby turns out to be an old man and pretty much controls the Illuminati of the Commonwealth. Like, what the fuck? I know it gets much deeper than that, but on the surface, it just sounds so silly. This sounds especially funny if I do a quick summary of Fallout New Vegas' story. I'ma just do it really fast. You're a delivery boy, and you get in the middle of some shit and get shot. Now find the guy who shot you. Pretty simple, right? I know it gets deeper than that. I just like the simplicity of the story on the surface, but when you actually play it yourself, it gets deeper than just finding a guy who shot you. And I think that's something a lot of people like about New Vegas' story. Fallout 4's story tries to do a lot and gets really deep in the storyline, and sometimes takes it too far, which I actually kind of respect and even find ambitious for the Fallout franchise. But the story Fallout 4 wants to get really deep into isn't that interesting. I won't lie, I thought the story was pretty damn good for the first playthrough when me playing Fallout 4. But when I look back at it and think about it, it doesn't have the complexity that Fallout New Vegas or even Fallout 3 can have, in a simple way, if you understand what I'm saying. So those are my opinions on Fallout 4's story. To sum it up, it's fun, not that interesting, but I think it gets saved by other elements in the game, like really interesting characters and environments. I'll just do a quick talk about New Vegas' story. I do like it a lot, and on the surface it is simple, which is nice, and it is my favorite Fallout story, just hands down. There's little to no complaints on it. I like the feeling of doing all these side tasks while in the long run trying to hunt down the guy who shot me. It just makes more sense than Fallout 4's story to me. It makes the game feel closer to reality and even more realistic. Because even though I know none of this will happen in Fallout, it'll never happen in real life. I mean, God, I hope not. But it feels more like a possible scenario, and I think that's what makes me like New Vegas' story even more. God, I feel like I have a lisp. Screwing up my words. So, if I had to rate the two stories out of 10 so you guys get a better idea of how I feel about them, I'd say New Vegas is a 8 out of 10, and Fallout 4 is a 6.5 out of 10, above average. But okay, that's enough talk about something that I said isn't as important to me, but that's how I feel about the stories to each game. Moving on, I'll discuss the combat and gameplay because to me, that's one of the more important things in any game. Stuff like how the game runs, how often bugs happen, how satisfying it is to do stuff like shoot a gun or swing a melee weapon, stuff like that. So let's start off with what I find most important in the gameplay, especially since we're talking about a first-person shooter, and that is the gunplay. If you played both Fallout 4 and New Vegas, you can most likely see where I'm going with this. Now, I do think Fallout 4 has better, more fluid, more satisfying gunplay, but I'm gonna say something that I almost never hear on Fallout videos, either about Fallout 3 or New Vegas, but I actually love the gameplay and gunplay to the older Fallout games. Fallout 3 and New Vegas have this old but modern feeling to it, which is something I've recently started to think about, and that goes with the charm and atmosphere of these games. So for me to pick which game has better gameplay, it's just kinda impossible for me, man. Just kidding. I love the combat to Fallout 4. We could all admit that Fallout 4 missed a lot of features people wanted from older Fallout games, but the gunplay is definitely something Fallout 4 stepped up for the franchise. I actually never got bored of the gameplay for Fallout 4. Even after me playing the game for over 180 hours in one playthrough at the point of this video, that's how much I've played Fallout 4, that's like a personal record for me. No single player game has kept their gameplay that satisfying for me for that long, let alone get that many hours out of me. The only game I've played so far that can compete is Skyrim, which I am currently playing, so I'm sure I'll compare Fallout and Skyrim in the future. But before I get even more off topic, something I wanted to mention about the gameplay and more of a specific style of playing, I just quickly wanted to address the melee combat. I don't have much experience with melee combat, but it's actually very important to me. The reason for that is because when I first play a Fallout game, I like to use guns, obviously. But whenever I play for the second time, I plan on only using melee. So melee combat is important to me personally, especially for replayability. I have experimented with it a little bit in Fallout 4 New Vegas. I'd say more experimenting in New Vegas than Fallout 4. But I think Fallout 4 has better melee combat, just plain and simple. So to sum up everything I said, I do think Fallout 4 has better gameplay and combat, but I still love that older feeling to Fallout New Vegas's more flawed gameplay. Also, I'm gonna rate this section again out of 10, just because I like the idea of you guys having a better idea of how I feel about the subject. So for the gameplay and combat, I'll give Fallout 4 a 9 out of 10, and I'll give New Vegas a 7 out of 10, something like that. And I really like doing these ratings, because I've had miscommunications about a similar subject in other videos like this, and I just don't want any confusion. So yeah, damn this lisp. Alright, so this next thing I want to compare is what will make this video a little bit more different than other Fallout comparison videos, because this is the last thing I'm going to compare in this video. For the last subject, I will compare between these two games. No, it's not the world map. No, it's not companions. No, it's not even the setting, and it's not even the characters. The last thing I want to discuss, because to me this is very important for a single player game, and to me personally, that is immersion and atmosphere. I know all other things I said are important too, but I feel like immersion doesn't get enough credit. When you play a single player game, all you have is you in the game. You don't have your homies to talk to, about strategy or just goofing around. All you have is yourself and your thoughts. And the Fallout franchise is definitely a series of atmospheric games that make me think. So it just comes down to which game I think is more immersive and atmospheric. And this will be the decider of the winner of this video. I'm sure a lot of you know what to already expect. So I'll just throw it out there, then give my reason. I think Fallout New Vegas is more immersive. This partially has to do with what I said earlier about that modern and old feeling of the older Fallout games. Also, the environment is very deep, and I know the colors of the world get made fun of in Fallout 3 and New Vegas for being too gray and too orange, but I actually think it builds into the atmosphere. It just feels more of a wasteland in that the world is just barely surviving. In Fallout 4, it just doesn't feel as soulful as New Vegas. The best thing Fallout 4 has going for it regarding immersion is Far Harbor, and I really love the setting and atmosphere of Far Harbor, but if I were to bring up DLCs, New Vegas's Lonesome Road and Old World Blues had me just in the moment wondering what was going to happen next, and it was crazy atmospheric. But discluding DLCs, I just like the vibe of the older Fallout games more. Fallout 4's atmosphere and vibe feel more casual, which is actually kind of a good thing for me because that made it easy for me to come back and keep playing Fallout 4. It was just so easy to hop on and get a session in it. So it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. So if I had to rate the atmosphere and immersion to Fallout 4, it would be like a 7 out of 10, maybe a 6.5. Closer to a 7, and New Vegas would be like a 8 or 9 out of 10. It's still kind of tough for me to decide because I've only played each game once in a full playthrough, and I'm basing this rating, like I said, off my first time of playing each game, because I think if I played Fallout 4 again, I would take it less seriously, and I'd rate the immersion like a 5 out of 10. Just solid 5, maybe even a 4. Okay, maybe not a 4, but like a 5 out of 10. But I really love the Fallout franchise, so I'm pretty immersed into the games anyway, despite what things I've said earlier. So, that's everything I wanted to compare for this video. Just to sum it up, just in case your ass wasn't listening, the first thing was the story, and that goes to New Vegas. Next up, we have the gameplay and combat, and that's a point for Fallout 4. Then finally, we have Immersion and Atmosphere, which I just talked about, and that clearly goes to New Vegas. So Fallout New Vegas wins this video 2-1, and I'm sure this isn't much of a surprise for most of you, but it was fun to talk about, so fuck it. Also, I did leave out many characteristics that make a game good, like characters or the world, but this video is getting long enough, and that leaves me the opportunity to make another Fallout 4 vs New Vegas video. So if you guys want to see that, make sure you leave a like or a comment. I'm also sure I left out specific details or said something weird or might have messed something up, but this video, I made it in the past, so I can't change anything. So if you guys have any questions, again, leave a comment. And the reason why I say this is because opinions change over time, and I can't change what I said in this video. And something to note is that I've played both of these games once, as I mentioned earlier, and I think I put enough time into each game for me to make this video. So that's just a few things to remember when you're commenting or rating this video. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, comment any ideas you want me to do, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Peace.